Hello, everyone. My name is JT Displays. I'm along with Orbital Casting here today. We've got a few stories here to discuss on esports.net. First one I want to talk about is the Fortnite players coming into 2022. Obviously, Fortnite has a robust scene there at the Fortnite Championship Series there. And Orbital, your thoughts on this top 20 here that was released on esports.net?
It's a good list, right? These are a lot of the guys at the top are cream of the crop that have been showing themselves to be exceptional prowesses and are only going to get better, right? You got Miro and Booga that are currently residing in the top. That they are cruising with so many amazing wins, and they currently actually started working together. You got Rex, you got Malabuka, you got Epic Whale and Janice and Vidil, all the way down to the likes of Han and Vortex and Edgy. And I mean, there's no hate between all these players. I feel with Fortnite kind of becoming the powerhouse that it is right now, it will continue to expand as much as the content that Epic is currently piling into it.
Yeah, and I think that for sure, you look at that those top two there, you've got, Booga and Miro there. Miro currently ranked that number one spot there for them, for Dignitas is where he's currently working with. But these two, throughout, chapters 2 and 3 there were really working in tandem in those duos, really working well together, iron sharpening iron at the top there, because I know Booga, after he won the world championships, he kind of fell off there just a little bit, but working with Miro has really helped allow him to elevate his game. And by being so close together, that's allows the best competition, kind of brings out the best out of yourself as well. And I think that's what we're seeing here from him.
Yeah, it's the as you said, the iron sharpens iron, but also bashing out the impurities, right? As much as we want to talk about sharpening iron, there's bashing out the wrong habits that you have. If you play with yourself and you only practice with yourself, it tends to lend itself to you practice the same habits over and over again. So say you're rotating through, some of the zones and you're not checking your back, or you're taking awkward pathing, through open fields, or you feel a little bit too confident and a certain build battle style that leaves you exposed maybe on the flank. So many different things are kind of brought in and out of the game that you always need a second perspective. And to grab someone like the top, the top of the cream of the crop, or maybe the second best if you're looking at it from either perspective, it really is a race to the top. And I mean, considering how often they're playing together, there is no way they aren't bouncing ideas off of each other, right? If
Right.
anything, the first and second ranking for this list, I would say, is more a mesh, right? It's not first or second, it's first and second placed together.
Yeah, and I think it's certainly going to be interesting to see how this ranking is going to shift throughout the year as well. Because Epic is certainly known to throw wrenches in the plans. They're certainly just on a whim, just building, no, that's gone, goodbye. So I want to see. I'm curious to see how these two and the rest of them really adapt to it, because that's really about adaptability. Really helps strengthen you, and it's the consistency that you're seeing from the top end that is what allows them to stay at the top end. Just because they're constantly able to stay ahead of that meta, right?
Yeah, it's not just staying ahead of the meta. I mean, there's so much that you can do to stay ahead of the meta. However, incorporating the meta to your own style is very, very important. The meta of Fortnite doesn't shift as hard as, say, something like League of Legends or, Dota 2 or Overwatch, which is very, frontwards facing. When you get into the game, you're only facing one opponent, right? You're facing a team that you're going up against that you have to deal with. And the meta at that point is very straightforward. All you have to do, you have to think about your cards in your hand that you're only playing against one person. Well, in Fortnite, that's not really how it goes, right? There's upwards
Right.
of, if you're playing solos, you're playing 99 other people. If you're playing duos, 50 other teams in squads, and so on and so forth. You have to think in a majority share. So instead of just thinking against, how can I beat this other team? You're actually thinking of, well, how does this translate to the 3 different game modes that I might be playing, right? Because we've seen both Miro and Booga decide to play solos and duos. Haven't seen them do squads just yet. I think we've seen a couple tournaments in the past, maybe back in 2021 or so. But I still do see it as, we aren't thinking about how do we beat the opponent. It's how do we incorporate the new weapons, maybe the alterations to the weapons, right? Maybe a shorthand, sniper, a little bit different in the hand cannons or anything like that. You have to think about how it incorporates into the team aspect more than, is it just strong? Just strong does
Right.
not make a winner. You do not become the top dog as I am picking up all the strong weapons. That's not always guaranteed. What gets
Right.
you the top dog, and what I expect these other players to do, is to understand that the kind of underlying code. It's identify your own style. What are your strengths? Do you play forward? Do you play back more? Do you like to snipe? Do you like to scout? What are your strengths? Amplify those strengths, and then utilize that meta to your advantage, whatever you can. If that does change your play style, that's fine, right? But don't always think in a one-dimensional meta is best.
Sure. Absolutely. And like hopefully we get to see some shakeups. I'm always rooting for the underdogs here, so I'm always loving to see if we'll get some sort of a big shakeup in the in the top 20 there by the end of this next third chapter here. But moving on though, we do want to talk about a little bit about Overwatch 2, and they've got some new anti-toxicity rules coming into place here. So of course this one also on esports.net. This article here, where obviously Overwatch 2 launching in just a few days from when we recorded this here. Maybe already live by the time this video goes live here, but it's like it has me talking about Overwatch again, right? It has me excited as a fan, because for a long time it was kind of that dead game for a long time by Blizzard, and now it's like, all right, hey, it's free to play. There's a little bit more opportunity for more people to play it here. A few champions are locked behind paywalls, so that's a bit of a step back. But hey, they are introducing some other things like the anti-toxicity rules there, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I come from League of Legends. Let's say it for what it is. Toxicity runs rampant everywhere you go. You can try and curb it as much as you want, and the more stringent you are, the more people are going to try and figure out ways around it. However, Overwatch, I have to say, when I used to play it, had one of the better systems in place. Right, it was well and truly the not terrible. You see some flame, but the voice chats, right, were negligible to an extent. What Overwatch 2 does, though, is not only cutting down on the number of players that you're going to have to deal with inside of the game, but again, as you said, a little bit of the tie up in the toxicity rules being a little bit more shutting down on it, which does mean you do have to watch yourself a bit more. And it might fall into the crevice of the chat restrictions and chat rules that League of Legends has, right? One strike, you're out kind of thing. I really hope it doesn't fall to that, but any sort of rules to try and make the competitive community a little bit more inviting to new players, I think is always a step in the right direction.
Right. So we actually do have those rules here. So obviously, there's no more no more sarcastic endorsements for your opponents there. It was like, oh yeah, they're a great opponent there. I totally just, I downed them like 80 times. It's fantastic. Great improvement.
Backhanded compliment.
Yeah, exactly. The competitives change their player level and portrait frames won't be visible in matches anymore. So you can't, just stun on people with like, yeah, I've got like all these stars on here. Like you're nothing. Like look at my profile frame here. So they've changed that. Pings are getting introduced to allow players to communicate without having to use voice chat. General chat is gone entirely. It is one of the biggest changes there. The first time user experience. So there is actually going to be basically a tutorial that every single new player has to play to kind of help cut down the Smurfs, because you may still get some Smurfs. You're going to get some more, so you're still going to get Smurfs, but it's when they realize that they have to play a tutorial every single time on every new account, that's going to deter a little bit there, just because of the boredom that's going to come from that, right? And then there are audio transcripts, so Blizzard will have access to audio recordings of team chat to help police reports. So, hey, you talk smack, they know it, it's Big Brother, that's what Overwatch is all about, right? Being Big Brother, always watching you, always listening in. That's the entire mantra of Overwatch, right? That's why the team was created, to be Big Brother around the world. And so Blizzard really getting into that a little bit, leaning into it a little bit, I guess.
Maybe a little bit too much. We don't know yet.
Then there's the SMS protection. So players must attach a Blizzard account to a phone number to cut down on double accounts there. So tying your account to a phone number, it helps a little bit there. That being said, you can go to Google Voice and get 5 phone numbers for completely free. So it's and you can have those text forwarded to your main phone number there. So it's a good step in theory, but as somebody with this background in cybersecurity, I'm like, I know exactly how people are going to get around that, right? So it's a great step in theory. I like these steps. It's where the enforcement is going to come in, right? Saying you have good rules is great. It's how those rules are enforced and put in place. That to me really is the make or break of it, right?
Yeah, and I can actually, just from this, I can list out from most important to least important. Like they have clear cut this out, right? Most important to me is the audio transcripts, right?
Right.
This is going to be very very difficult to enforce. This does mean that for Blizzard, you have to have an on-site team parading through all of these. If you send a robot to cover all of these voice chats, it's going to get messy very very quickly, right? There are it's a fear of mine, and I don't think it's a bad thing to say, right? That audio transcripts get very scary, and I mean, if you say something bad, I mean, why are you saying it in the first place, right?
Right.
However, a lot of the stuff that I personally have a gripe with is taking things out of context, right? You talk about some of the clips that are currently circulating social media, right? Well, you got to listen to the context. There are some things that are on the line that very obviously are used out of context, and should very well be taken within, instead of a 10-second soundbite, the full minute, right?
Hmm.
If Blizzard has that capability, more power to them. Audio transcripts, it's their game. They can do what they want. People can opt to not sign up for it, right? That is what they can. SMS, there are ways around it, right? That's the
Yeah.
next one on my list. It's there and it does slow things down. I mean, you take a look over at Korea, right? You take a look at South Korea. They already implemented, I think, for League of Legends or just about anywhere that you go for a gaming ID. I actually think it helps a lot more, for the reason being that when you lock it like that, even if there are ways around it, it's a lot of time and effort. It's even more so than going through a tutorial, right? You have to
Hmm.
go get the phone number, you have to remember the phone number, and if there's secondary tracking behind it, such as, extra benefits behind that you have to follow through with, that can be even more frustrating, right? It's just not worth the time. So I like that setup, and really that's the one that does, I think personally, nigh no harm. Now you can call me out on that. I understand that, but that is the one that feels like it's not, it sounds bad. It won't have as much impact as, well, you only got one account, so you got to make it work, right?
Hmm.
Following through, the general chat, pings, competitive, and endorsements, all those I put under the same umbrella, right? This is very much just a communication array, right?
Yeah.
Finding out the easiest way to communicate. All those points could have gone together. It's a good change, I think. I think all these changes are great. Pings do help depending on how they implement the pings. I don't know how well it's going to work with the rapid fire nature of Overwatch, right? Gonna have to have those
Right.
pings all the time, and you could easily get into a game where it's just ping city. All you hear are pings. It's like the danger flag or why'd you jump here, right? We'll
Or
see
I
how
need
it works.
healing, like I mean,
Yeah.
like the pressing V and like constantly switching back to that, and spamming that, like that was the mainstay like of Genji mains everywhere
Oh
in
yeah.
Overwatch 1, which unfortunately did get shut down. It was a full price game, you pay full price, and then you can go to Battle.net.com and pre-order your your battle pass there for I think it's like $35
Yep.
to unlock extra characters there. So you paid a full price, but well, we're making this one free to play. But you also all your new characters. Oh wait, hold on, you still got to pay for the new stuff, right? So like we're still gonna make it better back, and like we're still not over the fact that Blizzard still has a lot of bodies under the rug there
Hmm.
in the company that need to be cleaned out. And have not been addressed, to full effect to the chagrin of many people, myself included. I've definitely voiced my displeasure with Blizzard and have like abstained from talking about them being playing their games for a long time because of those issues there. Like will I give Overwatch 2 a chance? Absolutely, but like there's still a lot that Blizzard needs to do to really regain my trust as a fan. Like will fun cutesy things calling this new anti-toxicity rules the defense matrix, that's kind of cute, that's fun, that's cutesy, but that's words, right? It's hollow without action to support it, right?
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, the anti-toxicity rules, these are things that should have been implemented a long time ago, I think, right? Especially behind a large paywall at the beginning. It's that I actually have more of an issue with the fact that they are making it free. Well, free to play is whatever, right? The fact that it's getting locked behind that battle pass again kind of thing, that's what's frustrating, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
agree with you. So much is going on at Blizzard that supporting them is making it very, very difficult, right? The idea to actually support this game as it comes up, it's hard, right? We want to play the game. It looks fun. We want to support the people moving from Overwatch to Overwatch 2. But the fact that you dump $60 down the drain on, on these purchases, that is what I feel is very, very messed up and makes this new game feel like a cash grab, right? It
Yeah.
feels like you are, because normally, I mean, you take a look at Halo in the past, right? You take a look at any of those other games, and most of them tried to keep the servers up for as long as possible on those old games,
Hmm.
right? It was the, you bought the game, you should be allowed to play it, right? And I understand it's the, you can still play offline, but this is an online experience only. You are forcing people to transition when they do not want to, and that is what really, really gets me. So the game itself, toxicity, whatever, do what you have to, and people just don't say stupid stuff sometimes. The fact that they are making this a cash grab and obviously pushing people to play the game more, like forcing it instead of encouraging it, right? Vastly different process. And I, for one, I'm interested in the gameplay. It's not on my list to play and pick up right now.
All right, fair. Yeah, well, but and it is launching October 6th, I believe. So something to keep our pulse on here. And for everything else to keep your pulse on, you can keep it locked into esports.net. That's all we have for today's show, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more content next week. For Orbital, I am JT Displays. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
If you like this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications.